Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddharne. So today I'm going to read from the Nectar of Devotion Instruction, text number 8. If you'd like to follow along. Tanama Rupa Charitadi Sakirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasini Oja Tishtan Vraje Tanuragi Jananugami Kalamnaya Akilam Itibidesha Saram. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braj, Goloka Vrindavan, Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. But it says the host is spotlighted. Does it make any difference if I go back and see the gallery view? Kumar Devi Dasi.
You see the gallery or you?
Yeah, well, it says the host is spotlighted, and then I turn it back to gallery. Does that make any difference?
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
But is there some reason why the host is highlighting me as a speaker? And does it make any difference when I turn it back to the gallery?
No, I mean, when somebody enters to the meeting after you doing the class, and the imaging is going to the screen, you know. So that reason is spotlight your.
Yeah. Anyhow, does it make any difference if I see it from the gallery point of view?
No, doesn't matter, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for training the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's function can become dangerous for the conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. The Bhagavad Gita 8:6, it is said, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajantanti kalevaram tam tam evaiti kundeya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. At the time of death, the mind and intelligence of a living entity create the subtle form of a certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, can be transferred to the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their mind in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna prasad. Srila Rupa Goswami further advises, Tishtan Vraje, one should live in Vrindavana or any part of Brajabhumi. Rajabhumi, or the land of Vrindavana, is supposed to be 84 kroshas in area. 1 krosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavana his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. This is further elucidated by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Krishna smaram janam chasya preshtam nija samihitam tat tat katam ritaschaso koryadvasam vrajay sada. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Braj and always engage in Krishna, Krishnam smaran janam chasya preshtam, remembrance of Shri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, Srila Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sevaka Saraka Rupena, Siddha Rupena Chatrahi, Tad Baba Lipsuna Karya, Braja Loka Nusarataha. In the transcendental realm of Braj, Brajadam, one should serve the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associates. One should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practices executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization, when one is a Siddha Purusha or a spiritually perfect soul. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regular principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavana and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasa, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, quality, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varna Dasa. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smarana dasa, or samadhi is fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly, clearly understand his eternal relation with Krishna. That is called sampati dasa, perfection of life. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires, simply engage in the regular devotional service of the Lord, according to the direction of scriptures. In this way, the neophyte can gradually develop attachment Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so on and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna, even without following the regular principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti, a devotional service and spontaneous love. At that stage, the devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, can be executed in the Shanta Rasa when one aspires to be like Krishna's cows, or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around Krishna's neck. In the Dasya Rasa, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitraka, Padraka, or Rataka. In the friendly Sakya Rasa, one can become a friend like Baladev, Sridama, or Sudama. In the Vatsalya Rasa, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj and Jasoda. And in the Madhurya Rasa, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends such as Lalita and her serving maids, Manjaris, like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instruction in the matter of devotional service. So the verse again, Tanama Rupacharitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja Tishtan Vrajetana Ragi Jananugami Kalam Akilam Itipadesha Saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braj, Goloka Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Namo Vishnu Vraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswatam Deve, Gauravani Vricharane, Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Satarne. These topics in Nectar Devotion explain the complete philosophy of Krishna consciousness. In one sense, it goes from something very simple, such as the first verse, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. Somehow or another, engage the tongue, engage words, engage our mind, engage our tongue, belly, and throat in Krishna's service. That's called sense control. When the senses are engaged in Krishna's service, that means we're controlling the senses. Which means that the soul, ourselves, we're choosing what is being presented to us, we're choosing the Krishna conscious alternative. We may be engaged in utilizing our senses for different things, but they should be done in relation to Krishna. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami then goes into things that are unfavorable and things that are favorable for devotional service. Now, we may be inclined to skip over these things, but they're within our realm of something we can do. So, for instance, ati ahara, priyastascha, prajalpo, niyamagraha. One thing we can do is avoid ati ahara. Ati means too much, ahara means eating. So that may seem like very simple and easily forgotten. After all, it's prasadam, and we're supposed to, some people say, some devotees say, eat as much as you can because it's all purifying. Even when you go to sleep for 5 hours after, you're being purified. So prasadam is prasadam, but it's especially becomes prasadam when it's seen in relation to Krishna. That when we're conscious. And conscious doesn't mean that there's something there to eat, so let me eat it before someone else does. That's not complete consciousness. Consciousness means that recognizing that this was offered to Krishna, and therefore Krishna has tasted this prasadam, and therefore I should taste it in the same way that Krishna did, with love and devotion. As Prabhupada said, that when we offer food to Krishna, it's not that Krishna is mad after our halava because it has raisins in it. Especially in the beginning of the movement, halava was a very popular sweet. Matter of fact, it used to be a regular breakfast cereal. And it was especially considered opulent, not only because it had a ghee in it, and grains and butter, but it was considered opulent, even more opulent when it had raisins in it. So Prabhupada mentioned that. He said, it's not that Krishna, he's mad after our raisins, and that's why he eats it. No, Krishna tastes the love and devotion that it's offered with. Similarly, we should try to eat with devotion, and therefore the soul can be satisfied, and therefore the senses will also be satisfied. And we can avoid things like atiyahara, eating too much. Because eating too much means that there'll be a gradual progression towards the lower modes of nature. Eating is so important. Atakshi Krishna namadi, nabravet grayam indriyai. That no one can understand Krishna with his dull material senses. But when the tongue is utilized in Krishna's service, then gradually Krishna is revealed. One becomes purified by association with Krishna. So the tongue tastes and it vibrates. And in the first verse of Nectar instruction, Prabhupada said it shouldn't vibrate like a frog. Frog thinks its voice is very beautiful, and therefore it's always chanting, thinking all the other lady frogs are enchanted by mine. Unfortunately for the frog, Prabhupada said it's the black snake who becomes enchanted by the sound of the frog and comes and swallows the frog. And so that ends the frog's beautiful chanting. Similarly, if we chant things which are nonsense, based upon our senses and mind, rather than reality and Krishna consciousness, then we're simply inviting the black snake of time to come and devour us. Similarly, if we eat things which are not offered to Krishna, then we get, because food also conveys within it the mentality of the cook. Not only the mentality of the cook, but the mentality of where it was grown, how it was harvested, how it was brought to the place where it was prepared, who prepared it, and then ultimately our consciousness when we're eating. So unless we're aware of those things, then if we eat the wrong food in the wrong consciousness, then we have difficulty. And then we wonder, how is it that I have difficulty? Such a nice devotee like me, how can I have difficulty? Because especially if we eat the wrong things in the wrong consciousness, it'll affect our mind. And when our mind is affected, no matter how nicely we're situated in our material life, if our mind is not peaceful and happy in Krishna consciousness, then we'll become very disturbed. Therefore, if food is one's medicine, then there's no need for medicine. And if one does not take food as medicine, then medicine won't do any good. In other words, our first business is to learn how to honor prasadam and honor the holy name. Then if the mind is, when we're eating, can think about Krishna, then practically speaking, in any other circumstance, you can also think about Krishna. Because, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangasteshu pujayate sanga sanjayate kama krodo bhajayate krodad bhavati samoha smriti vibram sat smriti vibram sat buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashati. The world, our involvement in the world, our entanglement in the world begins with simply being unengaged. When we have nothing to do, we have free time, and as Prabhupada used to say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Then we start looking around to see, what can I do? And if we're fortunate in the association of devotees, devotees will offer us some opportunity for service. And Maya will also offer us opportunities to engage in her service. If we're fortunate, we'll choose Krishna's service. And we might have some propensity to choose other service. What's on the news? Let me click here on the internet. Looks interesting. My bed looks very inviting. I wonder if there's something else to eat. So the material nature will offer us many opportunities. As soon as we're unengaged, and then we'll look around and then we decide we fall in love with something or someone. And in order to inspire us, then Maya comes and offers us, because the person may not be very attractive, but if we feel lusty, the food may not be very good, but if we're lusty, then Maya says, let me add this little extra spice, a little lust. And that will make the experience much better. And then we get hungry, we get sleep, we fall in love, whatever. And our mind becomes finally focused in enjoying the senses. We think at that moment that my only business is to satisfy my senses. And maybe if we're fortunate, there's a little intelligence that comes in, that maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to eat 3 times more than my stomach can hold. Because it's although it's prasadam, and although it's transcendental, presently I'm in a body which has its physical limitations. So the prasadam may be transcendental, but my stomach is very much in the material world. Unless we've developed mystic powers in our stomach, which most of us haven't. So then the result is that if we satisfy our lust, then greed will be there. Greed means that I know I don't need any more, whatever it might be. But it was so nice. Maybe this time it will be even nicer. And when it turns out to be not so nice, then we become frustrated. Why did I eat so much? If only I didn't eat so much, I wouldn't be sick, but I ate too much. And it wasn't my fault. It was my wife's fault. It was my husband's fault. It was the temple president's fault. They made me do it. I'm a victim. So then we wind up in illusion, living a life of the victim, or living the life of the exploiter. I'm going to get even with my persons who made me a victim. So then we fall into a complete illusion, as it says. And our whole life is based upon attachment and aversion, which follows. And abhiniveshita, we become overwhelmed with material absorption. We actually take the material world as the only reality. And we're always fearful. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? When is the next lockdown? When's the next war? What's the price of oil or gas? Always fearful. And Maya says, well, we solved this problem. Just work hard and you can solve your other problem. Unfortunately, in the material world, when we solve one problem, that creates 5 more problems. So Maya has kept us very much nicely engaged since time immemorial. And as soon as we take birth, we have many problems to solve in the present and in the future. So we can come back in another lifetimes and try to solve those problems we're creating in this lifetime. How wonderful. We can spend eternity solving problems that will never be solved and feeling very proud of how good we are at solving problems. So from illusion, then whatever, as we develop our illusion, as we become absorbed in expanding our empires, big and small, then we forget what the real purpose of life is. And whatever intelligence, spiritual intelligence we may have, is lost. And we become more and more convinced that material life is the only life. Therefore, not only hearing about Krishna is important, because that remains theoretical, which is good, because with theoretical knowledge, if we hear, and Prabhupada said, we try to assimilate the knowledge by not only seeing it from different points of view, but also by trying to apply it within our life. As it says here, the beginning is Shravana Vasta, Shravana Dasa. So we have to continuously hear. If we don't hear, regularly, because in the beginning may be a long beginning, maybe many lifetimes beginning. It is not that we're inclined to hear all the time. Matter of fact, if you go to class, you can see how just half an hour, the devotees start getting very restless, especially if it's before prasadam. That's if they're awake. That's if they even bothered to come to class. But if the class goes a few minutes late, everyone's very restless, looking at their clock, at their watch, praying to Krishna, please, Krishna, enough of this hearing. Let's do something practical. Let's go and eat or sleep. So developing a taste for hearing has to be done by hearing and then try to apply, especially in japa. Try to apply the japa. In other words, it's not something very difficult. Just chant and try to chant to Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, and if possible, like a child calling for its mother, happily. There's no use of putting ourselves in distress any more than we already are. It's not that we have to chant it as they used to do at the beginning of the movement. Devotees, when they chant, because they weren't very regulated, they used to be very tired all the time. So the devotees would go up to the wall, and as they were chanting, they hit their heads against the wall. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. That way they keep themselves awake. Could you imagine in the spiritual world, the gopis chanting Hare Krishna, hitting themselves on the wall, trying to stay awake? No, because they love Krishna, therefore they feel some separation from Krishna. So they chant very blissfully, but with the feeling of separation. So we should call out to Srimati Radharani and Krishna, just like a loving child calls out for its loving parents. The child doesn't call for anyone, it calls for its parents, because it loves its parents, because it knows the parents will take care of it. So similarly, you have to chant Hare Krishna in the right mood, and to find that right mood, it may take some practice. Matter of fact, takes a lot of practice. And then if Krishna is pleased upon us, and he gives us some intelligence, because we're trying, then we can progress from there, chanting with some attention. In one sense, everything depends upon Krishna's mercy, that he reveals to us what is actually in these books. It's one thing to read Prabhupada's books, but if we think, I've already understood what it said, I heard it 1,000,000 times, I'm not this body. It's the same old thing. Although we've never heard it, actually. We think we heard it. What we heard is our mind listening to, telling us what our mind is hearing when we hear Bhagavad Gita. That if we could actually hear that we're eternal, that all our problems would go away. Could you imagine if someone gave you a pill and they said, take this pill, it's free, and if you take the pill, you'll live for 10,000 years? Wouldn't we be very happy to find out we're going to live for 10,000 years just by taking a pill? Or Devidasi doesn't look very happy about that. Because at least we'd be here for the 10,000 years of the golden age. So what to speak of if we take the medicine of Bhagavad Gita, that we're going to live forever? Shouldn't we be joyful just hearing that? Now, by the influence of the illusory energy, we don't take it so seriously. But still, we should understand that it's only because I'm influenced by the illusory energy, I don't take it seriously. So therefore, I should still take it seriously anyhow, knowing well this illusory energy is not allowing me to take it seriously. But I should become happy within myself that I'm actually eternal. There's no better news. I'm not going to die when this body was never alive, so the body can't die. But when I leave this body, I'm still going to go on. And because I've practiced devotional service, there's a good chance I'm going to take another birth and go on hearing and chanting about Krishna and taking prasadam. So we're very fortunate. But we should also understand that how important this hearing is. Because now we're very fortunate, but we can become very unfortunate also. There are many grasshoppers who used to be Brahmas. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, all living entities in the past were either Lord Brahmas in some universe or a highly placed demigods. So even that mosquito that's biting us, we should understand at one time it was a highly placed demigod, at least. But now it's a mosquito. So why? Because as we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni at one time was a highly placed demigod. But he decided, according to Prabhupada, what he wrote in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he decided to listen to rock music, demigod rock music. And he got cursed to become a Shudra in his next lifetime. Sometimes I've heard devotees even with their headphones on. And you think, oh, they're listening to some nice Prabhupada bhajan. But then when they take the headphone off, when you're talking to them, and you hear the Rolling Stones, you realize that these attachments don't go away so easily. Therefore, at least regulated, we chant 16 rounds. We have our program where we're supposed to hear about Krishna in the morning and hopefully in the evening. So this is the very foundation of our being saved from the illusory energy. We shouldn't take it very lightly. The problem is that unless we understand our present position, then we may imagine that somehow or another my life is already successful. There's this myth in ISKCON, which some devotees, they like to hold on to, that because at the time of initiation, my spiritual master has accepted all my sinful reactions. Therefore, I'm free. This is the best it's going to be. That there's nothing to worry about. If I leave my body, at least I'm guaranteed to go to the heavenly planets. So why don't I just relax a little bit? Come to Janmashtami every other year, and everything's going to be all right. Because my spiritual master is so kind. I actually went through the great austerity of throwing those grains into the fire. And I even gave him some dakshin because I heard he might get sick from my sinful reactions. So in case he has to go to the hospital, at least I gave him a payment for it. Now we should understand the instructions coming from Prabhupada are a great opportunity. If we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, then we'll get a complete picture of how to live life in such a way as to make our lives auspicious and meaningful. And we won't become discouraged, as it says here, because here, the nectar of instruction in verse number 8 is talking about some very exalted experiences in Krishna consciousness, far beyond any conditioned soul's imagination. So these things are not, they may be discouraging because it goes so quickly from Shravana Dasa, where we're supposed to hear about Krishna and follow the regular principles, to Varna Dasa, where there's acceptance, in just one line after another. And then there's Smarna Dasa, where one is progressive Krishna Smaranam, where one is sometimes remembers Krishna, then he constantly remembers Krishna, and then it expands that he's living in Krishna's pastimes, and then he enters into samadhi, and at the stage of bhava, his identity is revealed. It's just one sentence after another, and I'm thinking, my God, I've been here for years and years in the Hare Krishna movement. And this is moving so quickly from one sentence to the other to perfection. And I have hardly made any progress towards acceptance. So maybe there's something wrong with me. I should be moving along. He snap, smarna shravana dasa, varna dasa, smarna dasa, sampati dasa. Then I should already be with Krishna. It goes so quick in the purport. And I'm moving so slow. No, we shouldn't be discouraged because we should become encouraged that in spite of the fact I'm such a rascal, that I'm so fallen, so reluctant to take Krishna consciousness seriously, still, somehow or another, I'm making progress. Maybe 2 steps forward and 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Still, I'm making some progress. And the result will be that one day I'll be with Krishna. One day, all these wonderful things will be experienced gradually. So it should be the source of encouragement rather than discouragement. On the other hand, here it's giving us the opportunity to reflect upon the importance of regulation at the state, regularly hearing. And that may take different forms according to our circumstances, but something we should set up. That every day, if I'm living in a temple, I should actually not take it for granted. Oh, why go to Mangalarti? Why go to class? Tomorrow there'll be a class. Why should I bother? They're going to tell me the same thing. I'm not my body. I already know I'm not my body. They've told me that for 30 years now. I accept it. I just can't act according to it. That's all. What to do? Yeah, I know Krishna is God. So what? I still, ultimately, I'd rather go and take prasadam than see the deities. So we think we start taking Krishna consciousness for granted. That, so what? The deities are going to be there tomorrow, so I'll see them tomorrow. The holy name's there tomorrow. Prasadam, well, I hope there's something tomorrow. I better get down there and make sure there's something for me down there. So at least most of us have some attraction for prasadam. No, we should, but at the same time, we shouldn't take it for granted that we have such a wonderful opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. It can be done anywhere at any time. Just like Gopal Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to the toilet in the fields. He went out. When he came back, he was holding his tongue. And Gopal, a little boy of 5 years old, asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why are you holding your tongue? He said, because I was doing something very dirty and my tongue kept on chanting Hare Krishna. So I thought it was inappropriate. So I decided I'd stop my tongue. I hold it so it wouldn't chant Hare Krishna all the time. So Gopal Guru said, no, you don't understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In any circumstance, you can chant Hare Krishna, even when you're doing something which is seemingly dirty. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, wow, thank you, Gopal. That's a fantastic realization. That's so wonderful. Now you become my guru. So we'll call you Gopal Guru. So after that, Gopal, although he was 5 years old, was known as Gopal Guru. So we have such a wonderful opportunity that we can make advancement towards the supreme goal in life in any circumstance, just by chanting Hare Krishna. And in order to understand how to chant Hare Krishna and why we're chanting Hare Krishna, we can read Prabhupada's books. And that will make our chanting more sincere. That we'll know who we're chanting to. We'll know why we're chanting to Radha and Krishna and to their associates. We'll know about how wonderful devotional service can be. And then we can practice it in the association of devotees. That in the association of devotees, devotional service becomes practical, especially in the loving exchanges with the devotees. So we shouldn't think of the devotees, oh, why are you breathing the same air in the temple that I am? This temple is too small for all of us. You're taking up my space. You're eating my prasadam. You're breathing my air. No, we should be very appreciative of the devotees because they offer us an opportunity not only to see how nicely they're serving Krishna and the other devotees, but also an opportunity for us to learn how to serve them and therefore become a sincere devotee. Sometimes it's very challenging, but without a challenge, there's no progress either. There's no challenge, we become very weak and complacent. So the main challenge is how to engage in loving exchanges with the devotees so we can actually follow the instructions in the books. And when we chant Hare Krishna, engaging in your loving service, well, part of that loving service is to serve the devotees, help the innocent, and avoid the atheists. That's also part of serving Krishna. So if there are no devotees, then at least I should try to help the innocent. And if there's no innocent, then at least I should chant Hare Krishna to my dog or my parakeet or something. So he can make some progress. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Haridas Thakur told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was morose, and Haridas Thakur said, my dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why are you morose? He said, because there's so many living entities amongst the non-moving living entities who are not going to be delivered. So Haridas Thakur said, don't worry, my Lord. He said, because by the loud chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, even the inanimate, unmoving, immovable living entities are also being delivered. So they're also spiritual beings like we are. And if we chant Hare Krishna, then even they're benefited. So we always have an opportunity to do something actually valuable. Otherwise, all these other things that are going on in the world has no real meaning, ultimately. There are so many persons who were president. There are so many in the past immensely wealthy people, talented people, famous people, but they've all disappeared. And if they were serving Krishna, even if they were, for instance, like Kulaveka Sridhar, simply chanting Hare Krishna and offering half of his little income to serving the Ganges and serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some banana leaves or banana flour. So he was actually doing something important. All these other people leading armies or getting awards for their fame or their ability or whatever their humanitarian work, is all forgotten. And they're forgotten too. So we should take advantage of this great opportunity to especially chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, live in a holy place and make other places holy by bringing Krishna consciousness there and serving the devotees. We should take these activities as something very valuable. And if we have time, when we do them, we should see that we're so fortunate to have this opportunity to engage in these 5 powerful processes because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the mercy of the other devotees who are, by their example and by the instructions, are encouraging to do these activities. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Kumaraj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for a nice class. Yeah, if I hear the class, it's like all about appreciation actually, but I was thinking how to stay appreciative so that one can learn better the value of all these spiritual activities.
Well, keeping the association of devotees and read Prabhupada's books so we know how to associate with them. And then chant Hare Krishna so we know what Prabhupada's saying in his books. So we know how to associate with the devotees nicely so that we work together to serve either the deity in the temple or we serve the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by bringing the deity out by Harinam or by distribution of transcendental literature. So these powerful processes, if we engage in them, gradually appreciation will be there. As we become purified, we see how beautiful everything actually is, then our natural appreciation will be there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
No, I have one question, Gurudev.
Okay.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Gurudev, just the other day I met nuns. They were having some prayers or something, and I was talking to them about a little bit about the philosophy, what they follow and something. So of course they don't follow meat. They eat meat and everything. And then I told them that in our philosophy we are vegetarians and we offer food to Krishna and things like that. And then they said that, would you like to come to our monastery and cook for us your food? And then I said, I will let you know. But should I do this?
Why not? If you can have time to do it, it's very nice. They're offering because they want to experience Krishna consciousness. So it's a nice preach opportunity if you can do it. They're also Krishna servants. And although they may have some bad habits, but then again, in Kali Yuga, how many people do you meet on the street that have perfect habits? If we only deal with people who have perfect habits, then we won't be doing very much preaching. So it'd be very nice if you can bring them some prasadam.
No, they want me. They want me to go and cook in their monastery. But their pots, they cook meat in those pots.
Yeah, well, you might bring them some prasadam, whatever they want. Tell them that you'll bring the prasadam to them.
Okay. And also sometimes, because there is no temple here, so sometimes when I'm on my japa walk, I go to the church and I just sit and chant my rounds. And
Well, that's good. You're
attend the prayer. Sometimes they have this prayer also. I attend.
Well, that means you're making the church, more into a temple. You chant Hare Krishna there. Hallowed be thy name.
Huh?
And hallowed be my name. It's from the Bible. In other words, the holy name is spiritual wherever you chant it, including in a church. But if you perform devotional service in your house and wherever you're living, that also becomes like a temple. Krishna is there, then is Vaikuntha. So just one more thing, because I'm supposed to, right now I'm in Poland, in a little part of Poland. I'm supposed to give class in 3 minutes. No, I'm supposed to give class right now. Okay. As far as who the non-moving living entities are, those are the trees and the grass. They don't move very much. And even some rocks are even alive. And some people don't move either. So, chant Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Grantaraj, Nectar instruction, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.